the all new album, Crocs.
Alright.
Where's...
Hold on. Shut up.
Where's Officer Collins?
Shut up.
Where am I?
Shut up! I told you already.
Idiocracy wasn't just a dumb comedy filled with fart jokes and chaos, it was a warning dressed up as slapstick. What started as a bizarre idea in Mike Judge's head turned into a movie that Hollywood tried to bury only for the real world to catch up and make it look prophetic. From Crocs becoming an actual fashion craze, to a fake energy drink sold in real stores, and even a president who felt a little too familiar, the absurd future in Idiocracy doesn't feel like fiction anymore. Today, we're digging into the wildest behind-the-scenes stories and the strangest predictions that somehow came true. These aren't just random trivia bits. They're the 15 moments that prove Idiocracy might have been the most accurate, stupid movie ever made. Crocs prediction. When the crew needed the dumbest, ugliest, most ridiculous shoe for the future, they stumbled on a weird little prototype nobody had heard of, Crocs. Mike Judge thought they were so hideous that the joke would be bulletproof. No way these things ever catch on, he figured. They were just cheap foam clogs, perfect for a throwaway gag in a world where fashion had completely collapsed. But the joke backfired. Not long after the movie came out, Crocs exploded into a global trend. Kids wore them, parents wore them, even celebrities wore them. The same plastic shoes that were supposed to signal the end of style suddenly turned into a worldwide phenomenon. What was meant as satire became prophecy, and one of the funniest accidental predictions Idiocracy ever made. No trailer, no posters, no press tour. When Idiocracy was finished, you'd expect Fox to push it hard. Trailers, posters, red carpet interviews, but the studio didn't just fumble the release, they buried it. No advertising, no press. Some theaters didn't even get the title. They listed it as Untitled Mike Judge Project. Even the cast was left in the dark. A few actors later admitted they didn't even know the film had been released until it was already gone. For a satire about a society too dumb to notice what's right in front of them, the irony couldn't have been sharper. The studio's silence practically erased the movie before it even hit screens. And yet, somehow, Idiocracy survived the blackout. Leaking, spreading, and slowly finding the cult following Fox tried to prevent. Terry Crews' Camacho auditions. It's hard to imagine Idiocracy without President Dwayne Elizondo Mountain Dew Herbert Camacho, the machine gun-wielding, energy drink-chugging pro wrestler turned commander-in-chief. But here's the wild part. Terry Crews almost didn't get the role. He auditioned once, then again, then again. By the fifth time, he was exhausted, convinced the studio was looking for someone safer, a bigger-name comedian or a proven box office star. Crews was still relatively unknown, and the execs were nervous about the film's already controversial tone. Finally, in that last audition, Crews stopped holding back. He unleashed the voice, the chaos, the unfiltered insanity that became Camacho. The screaming, the over-the-top bravado, the full comedic explosion. Suddenly, there was no competition. He was the role. From almost being rejected to becoming the face of the movie, Terry Crews turned President Camacho into one of the most unforgettable characters in modern satire.
But listen up, I got a 3-point plan to fix everything.
Break it down, Camacho.
Number 1, we got this guy not sure. Number 2, he's got a higher IQ than any man alive. And number 3, he's gonna fix everything.
Ow my balls. Prophecy? Mike Judge wanted the dumbest TV show ever imagined. No plot, no story, just a guy getting hit in the crotch again and again. That was it. He called it Oh My Balls. And in the movie, it was supposed to be the ultimate symbol of society's collapse into brainless entertainment. But then, reality caught up. Not long after Idiocracy, audiences were glued to Jackass, viral fail videos, and endless YouTube compilations of people crashing skateboards, falling off bikes, and, you guessed it, getting hit where it hurts. The joke stopped being a parody and turned into a prediction. What Judge thought was too dumb to exist became a whole genre of internet content. Suddenly, Ow My Balls wasn't just a gag in a movie, it was basically the blueprint for half the internet's funniest home videos. Trash avalanche. Idiocracy didn't end the world with aliens, zombies, or nuclear bombs. No. Civilization collapsed under something way dumber, trash. In Judge's vision, humanity got so lazy, so careless, that garbage piled up into mountains. And eventually, those mountains caved in on themselves, wiping society out in a literal landfill apocalypse. As ridiculous as it sounds, this idea came from real headlines about America's growing waste crisis. Judge just exaggerated it, turning litter into lore. And the scary part? It wasn't that far off. Landfills were already overflowing, recycling rates were falling, and the trash avalanche looked less like a gag and more like a warning. The scene that once made audiences laugh uncomfortably now hits way too close to home. Because what if the dumbest punchline of all really is that we bury ourselves under our own junk? Fox News Unchanged. In Idiocracy's chaotic future, almost everything was warped beyond recognition. Language collapsed, brands mutated, culture crumbled. But one thing stayed exactly the same. Fox News. Same logo, same colors, same anchors yelling with over-the-top energy about absolutely nothing. At first, it was just a placeholder gag. Mike Judge didn't plan it as a direct jab. He figured he'd tweak it later. But the more the writers played with it, the more it just fit. They didn't need to exaggerate. In a world where intelligence had collapsed and corporations ruled everything, Fox News already looked like it belonged. That's the unsettling part. The only part of the future that didn't need to be rewritten was the news. Idiocracy bent reality into absurdity, but Fox News walked straight in without changing a thing. Brondo becomes real. Brondo's got what plants crave. In the movie, that neon green sports drink was everywhere. Powering athletes, flooding commercials, and even replacing water in farming. It was supposed to be the dumbest product placement ever, a parody of branding gone mad. But then someone decided to make it real. A startup actually licensed the Brondo name, bottled a bright green liquid, slapped the slogan on the label, and sold it online. Fans bought it at conventions, shared it as a joke, and for a brief moment, the movie's fake product crossed over into reality. It didn't last long, but for those who tried it, the punchline hit extra hard. Idiocracy invented Brondo as satire, but the fact that it actually made it to store shelves proved Judge's world wasn't so far-fetched after all.
Brondo's got what plants crave.
Cut corners in production. Idiocracy didn't just show a world falling apart from laziness and bad decisions, it almost fell apart behind the scenes too. Mike Judge was promised a modest budget, enough to bring his bizarre dystopia to life. But then the cuts started coming, shooting days were canceled, locations were swapped last minute, extras were let go. It got worse. They couldn't even afford to digitally erase brand logos, so they just blurred them in post-production, and some crew members, makeup artists, lighting techs, set dressers were told their paychecks might be delayed or never show up at all. It was the ultimate irony. A movie about a broken system nearly destroyed by a broken system. Judge had to keep smiling and pushing forward because if he didn't finish it, nobody else would. Cult resurrection. When Idiocracy limped into theaters, critics didn't know what to make of it. Some called it lazy. Others said it was too mean. The box office numbers were embarrassing, barely scraping past a few $100,000. For most movies, that's where the story ends. But Idiocracy refused to die. On DVD, it exploded. College dorms passed it around like gospel. Midnight screenings turned it into a shared joke. Online forums and later Reddit threads quoted lines like, "Welcome to Costco, I love you," until they became internet scripture. The same movie the studio buried, the critics trashed, and the public ignored at first became a cult prophecy. Idiocracy wasn't just a comedy anymore. It was a warning fans believed in, the lost title. Believe it or not, Idiocracy wasn't supposed to be called Idiocracy at all. Mike Judge's original title was even harsher, The United States of America, spelled phonetically, slurred, and intentionally dumbed down. It was the perfect insult, baked right into the name. But Fox hated it. Executives thought it was too aggressive, too embarrassing, maybe even un-American. They worried audiences would be offended before even seeing the film. After weeks of fighting, Judge was forced into a compromise. The movie was renamed Idiocracy, still sarcastic, but less direct. And yet, even that toned-down title scared some execs so much they refused to promote it. What started as a brutal satire in the title alone was silenced before the world ever had the chance to get the joke. Hidden Easter egg. Right at the beginning of Idiocracy, there's that chaotic family tree graphic showing how stupidity outbred everything else. Most people just laughed and moved on, but if you pause and look closely, you'll spot something bizarre. Hank Hill from King of the Hill. and even a goat. It was Mike Judge sneaking in a twisted crossover, blending his animated universe into his live-action dystopia, a tiny joke buried in a mess of baby daddies and double cousins. Most audiences never noticed it, but for the fans who did, it was a reminder that Judge's whole comedy world was connected, and just as absurd as the future he was warning us about. Maya Rudolph's parallel life. On screen, Maya Rudolph played a time-traveling prostitute trapped in a collapsing future. She dodged giant Costco carts, survived a dumbed-down society, and tried to make sense of Mike Judge's absurd world. But off-screen, her real life couldn't have been more different. Just a year before Idiocracy was officially released, Rudolph gave birth to her first child with director Paul Thomas Anderson. So while the studio was dumping the film in near silence, she was dealing with sleepless nights, diapers, and the chaos of new motherhood. It created a strange contrast. By day, she was starring in a movie about a broken society where parenting looked hopeless. By night, she was holding a newborn in a world that wasn't looking so stable itself. In a way, her journey mirrored the movie, trying to raise something fragile in a world that felt increasingly upside down. The Marching Morons inspiration. Idiocracy wasn't pulled out of thin air. Mike Judge had stumbled years earlier on a little-known 1951 sci-fi story called The Marching Morons. Its premise? Terrifyingly simple. Smart people stopped having kids while everyone else kept multiplying. Over generations, intelligence vanished, and society collapsed under the weight of its own ignorance. For Judge, it wasn't just fiction, it read like a warning. When he later stood in Disneyland listening to parents screaming at their kids in public, that old story came rushing back. Idiocracy became his modern version of the nightmare, replacing 1950s anxieties with fast food logos, junk television, and corporate slogans. The eerie part, what was meant to be a goofy throwback idea somehow landed even harder in the 2000s. Judge didn't invent the fear of stupidity taking over. He just updated it for a culture already halfway there. Reality filled in the rest. When Idiocracy first hit theaters, it looked like pure absurdity. A president with a chain gun, Starbucks offering extra services, Costco requiring passports. It was so over the top it seemed impossible. But within just a decade, reality started to catch up. Mike Judge himself eventually stopped calling the film a comedy. In interviews, he admitted it felt more like a documentary. Social media had exploded, attention spans were shrinking, corporations were louder than ever, and politicians leaned into spectacle instead of substance. The scary part? Judge hadn't set out to predict the future, he just followed one simple what if. What if smart people stopped having kids while everyone else didn't? The rest, he said, reality filled in on its own. The longer the years passed, the less funny Idiocracy seemed, and the more it felt like holding up a mirror.
I'm actually supposed to be getting out of prison today, sir.
You're in the wrong line, over there.
All right, I am in a big
Sorry.
Let this through.
Idiocracy was supposed to be a dumb comedy that nobody took seriously, but the further we get from its release, the more it feels less like satire and more like prophecy. A movie mocked by critics, buried by its own studio, and nearly forgotten, only to come back stronger as reality started looking a lot like its absurd future. From Crocs turning into fashion, to viral fail videos becoming our entertainment, to Brondo actually showing up on store shelves, the line between parody and prediction blurred. Even the hidden details, like Hank Hill's family tree cameo, remind us that Mike Judge's world was never as far away as we thought. In the end, Idiocracy didn't just predict the future, it became a warning that's still unfolding today. The real question is, if the dumbest movie ever made was actually right, what comes next? If you enjoyed diving into these weird and shocking facts, hit that like button, drop a comment with your favorite one, and don't forget to subscribe for more wild behind-the-scenes stories and hidden truths from the movies you thought you knew.
Would you like another?
Extra big-ass fries.
I said I didn't get any.
Thank you. Your account has been charged. Your balance is 0.
No!
I'm sorry you're having
Come
trouble.
on!
This should help you calm down. Please come back when you can afford to make a purchase. Your kids are starving. Carl's Jr. believes no child should go hungry. You are an unfit mother. Your children will be placed in the custody of Carl's Jr. Carl's Jr.